Welcome to the Gold Split Podcast.
Welcome back to the Gold Split Podcast. I am SquidBird here with my co-host
CCNeverender.
And today, drumroll please, our guest, it's plural, it is us.
Hey!
Right.
Ta-da!
We're insane. We're just going to talk to ourselves here.
Yep. I think it's a good way to wrap up season 1.
That's right. We're wrapping up the first season, which we didn't even know there was going to be seasons in the beginning, but I guess now there are. So
It just makes more sense this way. Like I think what we talked about is that we want to change the format of the podcast a bit. We kind of jumped into this podcast sort of like for field. You know what I mean? Like kind of jumped into this whole concept of doing a podcast kind of on a whim. And we didn't know what we were doing. We still didn't really know what we were doing, but we have a better idea of what we're doing. So,
yeah, and that's exactly why we're doing this, is to just sort of wrap up season 1 and to kind of pave the way for the future. What's coming up next? What you can expect from us, and maybe we'll take some of your suggestions, which we'll get into details later. But before we do that, I think I want to get into some of the more recent speed news. And you know me, I'm a Mario guy. I love Super Mario.
Indeed you are.
And 2 games have had their world records broken. So I want to start off with Super Mario Bros. 1.
Oh yeah, I heard about this.
Yeah. A runner named Tabin Webb beat the world record by a few frames, which doesn't sound like a lot, but this is huge. For SMB any percent, that run is so optimized, and yet continues to go down. So shout outs to Tabin Webb. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing the name, but I watched your run. It was epic. And what's even crazier, CC, is that they just discovered a new strat in SMB1 any percent. Like after this world record.
Describe it to me. What is this new?
So let me pull it up here. It's
because I know that it was like 8.2 or something has a new frame rule or whatever.
Yeah, that I think was discovered around April.
Okay.
Because I kind of looked into it a little bit. But more recently, it has to be like a few days ago now. Or was it 8.2? But there's some level has a glitch where I don't know the details of it. Like that game, I just don't understand how the mechanics work too well, but
right.
It's called Piranha Plant and Tall Pipe Despawn. And Cosmic tweeted 454 could actually be a thing.
Oh shit, son.
Yeah, so this game is not dead. Like it's gonna be around. We're gonna be seeing a lot of it, and I'm super excited just as a casual fan of the speedrun to see it, go down further and further.
Yeah. Shit's nuts, man. SMB1 is arguably the most optimized speed game ever. But I guess it doesn't help. So like one of the things I never understood was like literally everyone's like, this is exactly like frame perfect. You know what I mean? Like this is such a big deal. And I always thought, man, that's so hard to execute like frame perfectly like that. But then I realized that with the frame rule stuff, there are just some sections that like you could do it as fast as possible, but a lot of times like they're always going to be the same time because of the frame stuff.
Yeah, but I think what's crazy about this new trick is that it pushes that frame rule.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So now your margin of error is insane. Like you cannot mess up anywhere. On that level.
Mm-hmm.
I really wish I know what level. Okay, it's 8-2. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I must have been thinking of a different level about the other one.
Yeah, because I saw something else being discovered in 8-2 in April. So maybe I'm getting that confused. But yeah, in other words, all of you listening out there, SMB1 is not dead. Look forward to seeing some hype runs hopefully a 454 sometime in like a few years. But yeah, while we're on the subject of new world records, like game-changing ones, Cheese, the legendary Mario speedrunner,
Cheese.
just got 138.
That's crazy.
It's been a long time coming, but this marks the end of an era and the beginning of a new one.
Mm-hmm. I remember the hype leading up to like the sub 140, right? Like
Right.
literally just getting a 139 was such a big deal, and now we're a full minute faster.
Mm-hmm. And it's getting crazy, man. We have not only Cheese, but sort of the new big four of Mario 64. Puncation, Paracusia, and Liam Kings, which, funnily enough, all got a PB in the last week.
Nice.
Paracusia started it off with getting I believe, a 140.08. So he's like really close to
Right there on the
breaking
cusp
that
of it.
139 barrier.
Mm-hmm.
Puncation last night, from when we were recording, got a 2-second PB, but his runs have been really good lately. Like he just got back into 120 and he's playing really well. Liam Kings today took second place with a 139.30.
Holy
Bopping
shit.
Puncation. First time that's happened in like 2 years.
Wow.
And Cheese, I believe before Cheese was the second one to PB and to get the new world record.
Right.
But yeah, like this game is popping off right now.
Has anything new happened, or is it all just people getting better?
People are getting better, man.
Yeah,
like there's a few strats here and there that have been recently sort of implemented into the run, but now is a really good time to be a Mario 64 fan, if ever. We have 4 really good runners that are super active right now,
mm-hmm.
and I wouldn't be surprised to see more in the near future, but definitely by the end of the year, I expect to see at least a few more 138s on that leaderboard. Definitely going to happen. Calling it right now.
Yeah, with Liam Kings, from what I know about Liam Kings, I would be willing to bet money that he'll get a 138 this year as well.
Yeah, I mean, he went from 144 earlier this year, I believe. And that's with a break, with like a pretty long break from doing runs, all the way down to a 139. It's insane. But yeah, anyways, Mario 64, follow that directory because it's popping. But as we mentioned earlier, we're here to, sort of talk about where this podcast is going, where it has been, and what we might be able to see in the future. So, CC,
what's up?
How has the podcast life been for you, my friend?
I've really enjoyed the podcast. I listen to so many podcasts. I spend so much time listening to podcasts that I always wanted to do my own podcast. In fact, I always wanted to do my own radio show, which I don't think is realistic because radio is kind of a dead medium nowadays.
Yeah, podcast kind of took over that.
Yeah, rest in peace, radio. But I don't know, podcast is like the new radio. You know what I mean? But I always wanted to do some sort of radio thing, but it wasn't realistic. But I don't know. I love the idea of sitting down and having a dedicated conversation about a topic and stuff like that. So I've really enjoyed doing this podcast, and I want to keep doing this podcast. But I definitely understand that I think we can do better than what we've done so far. I know that.
No, for sure.
I think that we can retool, and we can sort of refocus, and we can put out a better product.
No, definitely. And, we've learned a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I know I've learned a lot about how to present myself, the weaknesses that I have as an interviewer, and, trying to learn how to play to my strengths has been a sort of a theme running through my career here at the Gold Split podcast. But yeah, man, it's been a lot of fun. I think moving forward, we're definitely gonna be more focused in our discussions. One thing that we've realized is that tangents happen very often kind of too often.
A bit too
Yeah.
often, yeah.
Sometimes they could be funny and entertaining, but I think whenever you're trying to talk about a subject such as speedrunning and stuff like that, you need to kind of stay on one page for most of it and not go too far off. But that being said, it's also important that we get to know the guests personally and sort of know who we're talking to before we get into the podcast. So I don't think that it's going away. But perhaps we'll have a much more focused and centered conversation.
Yeah. I think that's the way to go.
Yeah.
We still have a little bit of, shoot the shit kind of area, but then we should also have like okay, that's over with. Now it's time to talk about our topic, get in on our topic, really kind of dig around, make sure we hit all the major points. If anything kind of spawns off that, we can have a discussion about it. But then when, once we start getting off topic, it's like, okay, that's it. Got to cut it right there.
Yeah. One thing, that I like to meme about is I say like way too much.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, I don't know if y'all can tell, probably not, but I'm trying not to say like as hard as possible. I really am.
There's so much restraint in your voice right now.
This is actually our third recording of this podcast because of technical issues. So
yeah, it's been an adventure, which is it's a blessing in disguise.
It is, because let me tell you, did I say like in that last draft we were editing? But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to this podcast in the future. I really want to get to know all these speedrunners and their approaches to the game and how they see the speed world. I'm looking forward to doing that, but better.
That's right.
We're speedrunners. We got to optimize everything, even our podcast.
Gotta get a gold split on this gold split podcast.
But yeah, so one thing that I think we can do, CC, is go through our past catalog and just kind of talk about, the guests we've had over the past year or so and remember our favorite moments. So
yeah, absolutely.
Let's start off with Zella.
Zella was our first foray into the idea of podcasts. Well, I guess no, we did a couple of pilot episodes that will probably never see the light of day. I think, yeah, Zella was kind of like the first one. We're like, okay, we're actually going to get someone that we're not like super duper friends with. You know what I mean? Like we know Zella, but we're not like, best buds. And we're going to have him on. We're going to have him on, and we're going to actually have a conversation with people. And like, we're actually going to try to make a podcast. And I think it went okay. We had some nice topics that we talked about, but we definitely went on a lot of tangents. Did we have a game plan going in? I don't even remember.
That's a good question and a good point to bring up, because we're definitely going to try to have a game plan going forward with our guests. But, with Zella, like I've actually gotten to know him more and more ever since that podcast as well. I'm glad that we started with someone that we both knew to some degree, and we got to just sort of comfortably explore the space of podcasting. So shout outs to Zella for being there for that.
Hell yeah. Let's go, Zella. Zella snug.
Zella what? It's one of my favorite emotes of his. Next up, we had on episode 2, Ty Kevin.
There you go. The objectively wrong way to say his name.
I just like that meme.
It's just kind of funny is that I've kind of changed the way that I've referred to him. I used to call him Ty Kev just to be like shorter.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, this is stupid. I'm just gonna call him Ty Kevin. I don't know what it was. I don't know what the turning.
Is that
point
less
was.
syllables?
No, it's more. It's an extra. I just went. I said, I'm like, fuck it. I'm not gonna do the short name. I'm gonna call him by his full name. It'd be like if I called you Squid. Well, I guess people call you Squib all the time, but
people call me Squib all the time.
That's true. I don't know. I love Ty Kevin, and ever since that podcast, I've gotten to know Ty Kevin, just like Zella. I think it was an opportunity to let us into that person's life, and we got to know them better, and we like them more after that. And so we got we spent a good amount of time with Ty Kevin, and I've grown to love that man more and more.
Yeah, and that episode I remember very fondly. Not just the conversations we had about tassing, which I found super interesting.
Hmm.
That was like the first time I actually learned like what goes into a task other than like a Pan and Coke video. But also like I did the who's that Pokemon little side game thing, which I thought was pretty cool.
It was good. I like that one a lot.
Yeah, it worked really well for that episode, and we tried to bring it back in the next one, and I'd say it was pretty forced.
Yeah, a little bit.
We interviewed official Artemis 64, who is a prominent Yoshi story runner of the melon percent category. But yeah, I I ended up doing melon or banana, which was really a stretch when it came to that game because
Yeah, a little bit.
you're supposed to eat like all the melons, and if you eat a banana, your run is fucked. No, that was also an episode where I knew Artemis pretty well. I don't think you knew him at all.
I think I had met him at SGQ, but I didn't actually like interact with him a whole lot.
No, that's right. That's right. But you did get to know him in this most recent SGDQ when we were rooming together. So
yeah, we roomed together. He's a good lad.
Yeah, I love Artemis. And that episode, we went into the whole goose drama that was going on at the time, which was pretty interesting. And I think that whole segment was actually really focused from what I remember.
I think that conversation in particular was one of our better bits of like focused in a talking. We really looked at it. I think we had a good points we had a game plan going in, and we specifically had points that we want to talk about, and we looked at all the points. We talked about all the points until there was nothing to say, and then we moved on. And it was a good conversation.
After Artemis, we had
Punke. Yes, the infamous, the live episode.
Yeah, that was a trip.
Punke's a trip, so it kind of.
I was just like, "Hey, this podcast isn't live. That's not professional. What the fuck?" And then immediately, like, he comes into our Discord and he's like, "Wait, who's this guy that's in here with us?" Talking about CJ. And it's like, "Oh, that's our producer." And he's like, "What the fuck? This is super professional."
Yeah.
But yeah, it was cool to have that opportunity of doing a live podcast for sure. And honestly, shout outs to Punke. He had a lot of insight, on his sort of philosophy behind speedrunning and, being a vet, a runner from 2013, you have to have a lot of stories and a lot of wisdom when it comes to speedrunning. So
yeah, 6 years of internet time is like an eternity. So
yeah,
he's definitely been in the game for a long time. He's one of the old heads, one of the old boys.
After Punke, we had another Mario runner who starts with a P, Paracusia from Australia. That episode I remember also very fondly. Para was just a great guest, man.
Yeah, I liked Para a lot.
His answers to the questions were just really well thought out and interesting. I think we we kind of went back to the goose thing for a bit because I think there was some further developments since we had Artemis on.
Yeah, I think so. That sounds right.
But yeah, that episode was really fun. After Para,
we had Big Law.
Big Law.
We explained where that comes from. It's one of my favorite things. I'll just say it again. I love the fact that spread. I somehow brought that into the world, and that has spread to more people. I love it. Anyways, Big Law. Big Law was a great interview. Mainly because I love Big Law. He's such a good dude. Salt of the earth.
That episode, it was really just a fun conversation. I think we did go on quite a few tangents, but
yeah, I think that one was one we did not have a game plan for, or not barely anything. We were like, well, he got like a couple points. We'll wing it. It was a YOLO episode for sure.
Yeah,
but it worked out all right. I think we had a good chat.
After Big Law was 6. I know 7 was Danime Sounds.
Danimal Sounds is old friend.
Mario Party extraordinaire, escape room enthusiast, hat enthusiast.
He's a hat enthusiast for sure. I feel like if Dan went like full focus on streaming, he could become partner in like a couple months by the end of the year. But he's too busy with all his other like real life stuff.
Yeah.
Episode 8 with Quo.
That one was a short one.
Yeah, it was a little shorter.
I think we did have a game plan going into that one, but we kind of wrapped up everything pretty quickly.
Yeah, Quo's definitely not one to sort of. Yeah, he's not one person to kind of go on and on about stuff. He's a pretty.
He gets to the point.
Yeah.
But yeah, that episode, from what I remember, like we talked about everything. We got to know like how he, because he just came fresh off of a new world record in Snap, which 2035, right? Or is 36?
It was 35. Yeah,
35. Huge milestone. Bopping Liam Kings, who we mentioned earlier. Yeah, that was crazy. Then episode 9, we had
CJ. It's all good.
It's all good. CJ, our producer here at the show, and another member behind Speed Docs.
Yep.
That one was just a fun episode, I'd say. We got to talk a bit about speedrunning, and he went off on his few of his stories, which are always entertaining.
Absolutely. But CJ is definitely really fun to talk to. I feel like he could definitely be on the podcast more often, but he's definitely like a color commentator. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You bring him in not because you want to have like a deep, meaningful conversation, but because you want to like hear some crazy stories, or he'll tell you some weird opinions of his, or I mean, not that he's not capable of doing anything in particular, but like
that's his forte.
His forte, yeah. You sit him down in front of a microphone, and he just kind of goes off on these crazy tangents, and he's a good time, for sure.
And episode 10.
Episode 10 was my favorite episode of all time. I gotta tell you.
Yeah, the guests were really nice.
They were the best guests we've ever had. I gotta tell you.
Super handsome.
Oh, just the best, and their voices. Wow, magnifique.
Yeah, actually reminds me of the guy who voices Speed Docs.
I get that all the time. I have been called Discount, like X, very many times. When I was at SGDQ, someone called me Discount ZFG. I look like ZFG with a beard. It doesn't help that I was also playing Ocarina of Time when they said that, so I guess I can understand. But I've also been called like Discount, like Summoning Salt, because of what I do with Speed Docs. But I've been called Discount many things.
But yeah, man, CC, it's been a crazy past year.
Absolutely.
With this podcast, with Speed Docs. What's going on with you, man?
Oh, let's see here. We're gearing up for a couple of really big videos. Up next is Ratchet and Clank and Banjo-Kazooie, which I think are going to be two of our biggest episodes ever. Mainly, not only like in terms of like sort of like scale and scope, but like those two games, those communities for those games are like massive, and I don't know. I think it's gonna be really big, and I really hope that it turns out well. But I think both of those videos are gonna be really, really big, a big deal for our channel. Beyond that, we made a Discord, or we made our Discord public, I should say. We retooled it. It was just a private working Discord for us for a while, but we kind of combined it to let people come in, and we've seen some fans and some interested parties kind of hop in and say hi, and so it's been really great kind of growing this community. And I hope it keeps going with this Gold Split podcast and with the Speed Docs and with streaming and all that stuff. I hope we really get a good crowd going.
And we mentioned earlier, I don't think we mentioned that we have the channel, but there's a channel in the Discord dedicated to the Gold Split podcast.
Yep.
Where you can come, leave a comment, talk to us. If you have, any topics that you want us to talk about potentially, or a guest that you want to see, feel free to leave it in there. We'll take a look at it and do what we can.
Yeah. I mean, like, I guess people may not think about it, but like, if you actually want to talk to like me and Squid or anyone on our team or whatever, like, you can join our Discord and like actually have a one-on-one conversation with us. We're all pretty down to earth, and it's really cool. I like the fact that off on a tangent again, but I like the fact that like in new media nowadays, like with YouTube stuff, you kind of have like a direct line to your people, you know.
Yeah.
Like in the past, if you liked a Tom Cruise movie, you know, you could like write a letter to Tom Cruise, but I mean, Tom Cruise might not even get it. Like his agent is gonna be like, "Oh, thank you for writing to Tom Cruise." Thank
Would
you.
he
You know,
even
send it.
answer it if he got it?
Exactly that too. You know, you don't know if he got that.
We're not Tom Cruise though.
Exactly. But at the same time, it's like we can make content that people like, and you can be like, "Hey, I liked your stuff," and I'll be like, and I will read that, and I'll be like, "Oh, thank you so much," and I will send you a message back. You know, like we can have a conversation like that. It's cool.
I'll tell you what, man. Making the music for Speed Docs, it has been insane to see the reception I've been getting for the songs, the remixes I make.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks to all of you for checking it out. Not just the video, but my SoundCloud. It's been insane just seeing how many people enjoy listening to the songs that I make. And again, thanks a lot. Like it means a lot to me. Looking forward to making more great soundtracks for the next videos. And to any of you who know me, Banjo Kazooie, that is like my favorite, one of my favorite games for the N64. So I'm super excited to come up with something for that. I'm really looking forward to it.
Hell yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I want to see what you make. I want to see how it turns out. Whatever it is, I know it's gonna be good. So
Yeah, hopefully it's not bad.
oh damn, that sucks. Sorry.
I was actually talking to you the other day how everything, and I'm pretty sure a lot of other musicians feel the same way. Anytime I make a song, it's like, that sucks, dude. And then I go on SoundCloud and it's like, wait, people like this. Maybe it's not as bad as I thought. But it's always that voice in the back of your head, always unsatisfied. But no, I have a lot of fun making them and revisiting songs that I loved as a kid and still love to this day.
Yeah, I know the feeling, the idea of like you are your own worst critic.
Mm-hmm. No, it's definitely a truth.
As part of like being the one like who's like so in tune with it, you know what I mean? Like you work on it for so long that you kind of see the spots, that you could polish up. Because you're looking at you're missing the forest for the trees. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Or maybe it's the other way around. You don't wait. I'm trying to think how that phrase is supposed to be used and how I'm trying to use it. And I'm seeing, but I think you're seeing the individual trees and you're like, oh, that tree's not that good, or that tree, could be worked on, but it's like the whole forest as a whole is amazing. And you're like, you're nitpicking, but most people don't see it that way. They just see the bigger picture.
And I mean, with me, anytime I like hear something so many times, like even something that I haven't made, it eventually you start kind of losing interest in it, and you kind of start paying attention to details that you usually wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few albums that like I can listen to for months at a time, but I still like have to put them to the side eventually before like a year later I'll do it again.
Exactly. I think this is it. I think this is a good place to wrap up.
Make sure to check out our social medias, our Discord, like we mentioned earlier, our Twitches. I'm Squid_Bird. You are?
I am CCNeverender on Twitter, on Twitch, all the good stuff. You can find me anywhere at CCNeverender, most likely.
If you want to find me on Twitter, it's going to be at YouGotMad, YOUGOTMAD. And I forgot which episode, but I did go into the lore behind that name. But yeah, CC, always a pleasure talking with you, man.
Here's to 10 great episodes, and here's to many, many more.
Cheers.
Cheers. Dink.